Welcome to Matters of the Mind. I'm Dr. Rick Adams, licensed psychotherapist, professor of psychology, and human behavior. This podcast is devoted to helping you understand how the mind is shaped and influenced physically, psychologically, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. For more than 3 decades, I've been blessed with a front row seat into the minds of humanity. And now it's my desire to use that experience to help, aid, and assist you through this Matters of the Mind podcast. Today's Matter of the Mind topic is one that cuts across every area of human life. So much so that throughout this series, I'll be conversating with other clinicians, counselors, psychotherapists, as well as psychiatrists, along with some of my current and former registered interns who are actively working in the field of behavioral health. Because this topic is one that I choose not to tackle alone. Today's Matter of the Mind topic is mental health. But instead of approaching it in a traditional way, I want to bring it into focus by asking and answering 3 critical questions. Where are we? Where we're headed? And where we're going. Today I'm going to break it down psychologically, behaviorally, as well as spiritually. And to help me is one of my most trusted colleagues, mental health professionals, as well as registered interns, Mr. LaMaras James. LaMaras, how you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic. How you doing, Doc?
So I blessed. Thank you.
Yes.
I want to kind of jump into this, but before I do, I want to give the audience a little bit of information about you. Okay.
Sure.
LaMaras is a 2-time graduate of Florida A&M University, where he earned his bachelor's degree in psychology as well as his master's degree in community psychology. He's married to his high school sweetheart, who I met, who's awesome. Okay.
Yes.
One thing I'll say, I'll stop for just a minute. You and I married up.
Yes, we did.
Okay, we married up. We
did.
both have been blessed with wives that take us to another level.
I'm telling you, I was whack without her.
Oh yes, me and you both. Okay. Also, he's driven by his deep commitment to his family, his faith, as well as his community. And LaMaras is, and I'm speaking for him and projecting because I know a lot about his heart. He's into human transformation, as well as helping individuals reach their full godly potential. LaMaras is also a mental health counselor for Orange County Public Schools, where he supports students and families, as well as from a cultural mental health perspective. He's also as an outside professional. He's a community leader as well as a community builder. He works with men in self-empowerment groups. LaMaras, you and I also have worked with in private organizations doing individual and family therapy.
Yes.
So we've been together for many years now.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So I want to kind of just keep it real.
Sure.
And let everybody know that when we talk about mental health, it's not just about symptoms and situations. It's about direction.
Yes.
And like I said before, if we don't understand the direction that we're headed, the dysfunctions continue, okay?
Yes.
So I really want this to be just us talking, and one of the things that we do on every other Tuesday is we do our clinical supervision.
Yes.
And during clinical supervision, we staff cases and talk about what's going on and discuss ways to help those cases.
Yes.
So I kind of want to give them insight to our clinical supervision, so to speak, okay? But we're going to do it from the perspective of just me asking you, where we are, where we're headed, and where we're going, okay? From a mental health perspective,
Yes.
based on what you're seeing and what you've seen over the years,
Gotcha.
okay?
Yes, sir.
So let's give them some insight. So
All right.
where we're headed, where are we?
To be honest with you and to keep it real, we're in trouble.
Okay.
We're
Talk
in
to me.
trouble. We're
Talk
in
to me.
trouble because, first of all, we have a lack of authority.
Okay.
Just kind of what I'm seeing, we're not really respecting authority.
Okay.
And authority first starts in the home.
Okay.
And so when we think about the homes, our homes are broken, and our fathers are missing, and we have our mothers who are, leading 2 roles. They're being mom and they're being dad, And I know for me, coming from a single parent household, I was able to play on my mom's heartstrings.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so, all I had to do was pout a little bit, give her a little bit of the silent treatment. All right, come on, we'll go get those Jordans you want,
There you go. There you go.
And so just having a fortified person, not taking anything away from our women, but having a fortified person there to say, you know what, you go ahead and pout, but after you get done pouting,
It's time to go to.
I need you to wash these dishes. I need you to take this trash out. So we need some firmness, and I think not just because, but as a contributing factor,
Mm-hmm.
we have broken homes, and so we have lack of authority.
Right. Now, this is the way I put it when I speak a lot. I say, if the father's out of place,
Yes.
the mother's displaced, and the
Yes.
child is misplaced.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I break it down that way because when that father is out of place, like you said, you got the mother now who's displaced. She's trying to be the mother and the father. And we both know that that's not possible. That's not possible.
Yes.
And we sometimes want to act as if they're the same, but we know that they're the same as it relates to their importance, but their positioning and what they how they can impact the child as well as the family from an individual perspective. They can't repeat each other. You know,
Yes.
they can't replace each other.
No, they can't. Excuse me. And we were talking about creation roles.
Come on.
And when we look at our mothers, they are strong. My mom, she had me. She had to be strong, right?
Right. Gotcha.
And so, but at the same time, being displaced, it's not a matter of can she,
Right.
but should she?
Right.
And so just putting on some unwanted stress, right? Because they're forced to take on those two roles.
Right.
And it's just really breaking our mothers down.
Right.
When we talk about cancer, when we talk about stress, when we talk about, just having a lack of compassion over time because, they're having to play these, two roles.
So if that's the case, then before we go into where we're going, where we're headed, what are some of the things that we can help them with? Okay, when we have clients, and let's talk about our female clients.
Sure.
When we have clients, or even in the school system, sometimes when you see the females, the young girls, the ladies, so to speak, that are dealing with different things.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you're seeing that they're dealing with?
Oh, man, we can self-worth,
Got it.
value, self-esteem.
Got it.
Those are some of the three areas that I'm seeing with our young folks, our young ladies, and with our mothers as well. And so we look at pop culture,
Come on.
right? Social media, and just what their vision of themselves and how it's portrayed. It's not a good one.
Got it.
And so we are talking about root cause things. And so for our women. And our young ladies, they need to know that they're seen, they're valued, and they're heard. And so if that is missing, where they're going to get that validation from?
Right.
And we see it a lot just scrolling on the phone.
Yes.
Just the outward pulchritude.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh, okay, this is how I should present myself. Okay, that's my worth. Oh, this is how I should value myself. And if I'm not getting enough likes, if I'm not getting enough views on my post, then, oh my goodness, my self-esteem, okay, maybe I'm not pretty.
Which brings me to where are we? We are at a generation that deals with competition.
Yes.
Okay, which brings on comparison. Now,
Yes.
I'm okay with competition, but when you start comparing, we often say comparison is the quickest way to depression. And a lot of young people, males and females,
Yes.
especially this generation,
Yes.
they're doing a lot of comparison. They're swiping, and based on that 15-minute or sometimes 15-second
Yes.
Glimpse, they're now comparing to that particular situation, that particular person. And the reality is, we know that it's just that's not even the full story. That's just a glimpse of what's really going on.
No, I call social media the highlight reel.
Come on.
Because you only see the good stuff.
That's it.
You don't see the going through. You don't see the in between.
Right.
And so if that's all you see, that's what you're comparing yourself to.
Right.
And that can be very detrimental.
So I was, not to say the school, but I was recently at a school, okay? And I spoke with the dean, and I said, okay, what are you seeing right now? And this is a person who came from high school. Now he's at the middle school. And he said, but when I was at the high school, it was something. It was something. And he talked a lot about the substance use that he's seeing on the high school campuses. That's something that when we say where are we, we are at a point where a lot of young people are using substances.
Yes.
In addition to the social media aspect. So where are we headed?
So, they're trying to quiet out the consciousness, right? Or the conscience,
good.
excuse me, because, we know that drug use or substance abuse is just a band-aid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you come off of that high and when you know, wake up from that drunken stupor, reality is right there in your face.
Yes.
And so, you know what? Let me just take a break from reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to indulge.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't have to deal with it right now.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and so what is that really speaking to?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is that person really dealing with?
Right.
And we have to get to the root cause of that.
Right.
Because,
Right.
you know, what we don't, you know, fix
Mm-hmm.
now, we're
Mm-hmm.
just going to perpetuate,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for generations.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it's not just at the high school level,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's at the middle school. And, you know, need I say, it's at the elementary level
Right.
as well when we
Right.
think about the vaping.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things that we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
a lot with our youth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's so glorified. I mean, they have these different colors
Right.
and they
Right.
just make it so appealing
Right.
to the
Right.
eye, but it's so detrimental to their health.
Right.
And not knowing that it's really imparting in them something that they could potentially struggle with for the
Right.
rest of their days.
Right. And that's the part that I think kind of gets me
Yeah.
as we had that support group
Mm-hmm.
when I was growing up, so to speak. It wasn't
Yes.
perfect,
Yes.
okay, but
Yes.
in the 60s, 70s,
Uh-huh.
80s, you had a level of accountability.
We
Okay,
did. Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and we have some accountability
Mm.
now, but it's definitely not the way it used to be. Okay,
Yes.
so how can we um, help the parents? Because oftentimes, and I want us to speak to that, because
Sure.
there are those who are going to be hearing this
Mm-hmm.
podcast and they're going to be struggling. Like, okay, yeah, I am struggling. My kids are struggling.
Yes.
So what are some of the things that I can do about it? How can I hold them more accountable? You know.
Yes.
And I want to speak to that real quick
Yes.
before I ask you that.
Excuse me.
I'll just say we got to put them in check.
Yes.
You got to put them in check. You know.
Yes.
Now, what does that actually look like when we say we got to put them in check?
Oh man. So I mean, we have parents who are scared of their children.
Come on.
Right?
Come
We
on.
have parents who want to be friends first.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's where that is. You know, that's where
Mhm.
we start. And
Right.
it's just they're trying to, you know, make up, you know, for what's missing.
Right.
And
Right.
again, going back to our single parent households, you know, unfortunately our households are broken.
Mhm.
You know what? Instead of me holding little Johnny or little Susie, you know, to, you know, being accountable,
Right.
I'm just gonna give in because you know what? I don't want to ruffle their feathers.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't want them to be depressed. You know, I don't want them to hurt themselves.
Right. Right.
Right?
Let's land the plane right there for
Yes.
just a moment. But I don't want them to hurt themselves.
Mhm.
Okay, because this is something that I've seen over the years.
Yes.
I call it parental hijacking.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, what do I mean by that?
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about just the single parent households. I'm
Yes.
talking about two parent households. I'm
Definitely.
talking about very affluent,
Mhm.
Islesworth type.
Mhm.
You know, Winter Park, Winter Garden,
Mhm.
all over. These are
Mhm.
individual families who are not financially in need, so to speak. They're individuals that when you ride by their house, you think, oh, they got it going on. But that's the outward appearance. Okay?
It is.
And what I'm seeing though is where there are two parent households, where there are parents that may be one parent, but he or she is in a very financially affluent situation. They're prospering. They're going to church. They're doing all the right things, so to speak.
Yes.
But what I'm also seeing though is that issue of fear,
Yes.
and I'm seeing that they're also struggling with how do I help him, okay?
Right.
Because we're not struggling in every area,
Mhm.
but we're struggling as it relates to our relationship. I'm not connecting to him, you know.
Mhm.
And then those parents that are very affluent, the issue is you've provided them with everything, but not that which they really need.
Yes.
You follow me?
I
Okay.
follow.
So let's speak to the parenting structure as a whole.
Gotcha.
What's going on?
So, you know, I think what you're getting to was quality time.
Come on.
You know, when we talk about that elusive concept of time,
Mhm.
whether single parent household or a two parent household,
Mhm.
we are being pulled away
Yes.
from being able to spend that quality time with each other, with our children.
And it's let's go spiritual.
Yes.
It's the enemy.
Yes.
He really wants to divide the family.
Yes.
And if I can get you busy
Yes.
with doing everything, even if you got a good job, you're making all the money, but if I
Mhm.
can just keep you busy
Mhm.
to miss one behavior,
Yes.
miss one situation where he or she, the child's walking out the door,
Mhm.
And at that one moment, you need to
Mm-hmm.
be able to check them and say, "Hey, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me for a second." But if we're so busy with other things, it distracts us from it.
Correct.
And that's the one thing that we miss that causes the domino effect.
Yes.
Because that one opportunity to put him in check to say, "Hey, come here, let's talk," was the one time where he did use, or they were going out to do something that they shouldn't have been
Yes.
doing. Okay,
Yes.
let's talk about that.
Yes. And so that's that little crack, that little sliver
Right.
that, spiritually that's all that the enemy needs.
Right.
And so being pulled away, we have great jobs. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
got this meeting, or I have this business venture, or
Mm-hmm.
but little Johnny, little Susie is like, hey, I'm right over here.
Right. Right.
And that's what we really need to be investing our time.
Correct.
Correct. We have to be able, before we can get to accountability,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be able to acknowledge.
Right. Right.
You know what, son, daughter, I haven't been doing what I'm supposed to do as a
Right.
mother, as a
Right.
father.
Right.
I have been overlooking you. For that, I apologize.
Right.
You
Right.
know, help me to help you. How
Right.
can I push in?
And keeping it real with them.
That's
You know,
right.
this is where I present that we may not be able to start over, but we can begin again.
Correct.
We can begin again.
Yes.
Now, I mentioned it because I want to go back to it. The
Mhm.
parental hijacking. Okay?
Yes.
What I mean by parental hijacking is one of the worst things that can happen to a parent is the losing the loss of a child.
Yes.
That to me, clinically, when I've worked with parents who've lost a child, is one of the most difficult aspects of
Yes.
parenting. Okay?
Yes.
And then when you hear your child say, or when they give the indication that they're gonna hurt themselves,
Mhm.
okay, I'll just kill myself, or
Mm.
I'll just do whatever. As a parent, it brings you back
Mhm.
because you don't want that. And now you and I work in the mental health field, so
Yes.
so we don't overlook those
Nope.
statements because there's seriousness in it, and it's coming from, as you said, a root cause. It's coming from somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, so we can't just ignore it like, okay, whatever. Back in the day, sometimes they would say, okay, well, if you're gonna do it, do it. But now we understand the seriousness of that,
Mhm.
so we can't just overlook it.
Correct.
But how can a parent differentiate when they're saying it to get attention, and they're saying it to use it to get what they want, or as a form of manipulation or
Correct.
parental hijacking?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
versus when it's not,
Mhm.
it's real,
Mhm.
and it's a possibility, so to speak. But it puts the parent in a very precarious situation.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And it really is attention, right?
Mhm.
Not just wanting to get what I want,
Right.
but hey, look, I need you.
Mhm.
So we will not minimize those statements,
Right.
as you
Right. We
said,
can't.
but at the same time, it creates a time for a conversation,
Mhm.
and maybe I need to, push in a little bit more there.
Mhm.
Or, you know what, I'm not fully equipped.
Right.
Maybe I need
Right.
to get some resources.
Right.
And so the role that I play in Orange County Public Schools is I can share those resources with
Right.
our parents.
Right.
I get those emails where it's
Mhm.
like, I just don't know what to do.
Right.
Him or her saying this.
Mhm.
And I have a conversation, excuse me, with them, and I connect them with resources,
Right.
because
Right.
sometimes it's just lack of knowledge.
Right. Right.
And so being able to empower them in that way,
Mhm.
because it can be a blow,
Right.
because it's like, now I'm turning it inwardly as a
Mhm.
parent. I'm
Mhm.
not doing a great job.
Mhm.
For those affluent parents, I'm providing for them.
Right.
Right? I'm
Right.
doing all of they don't have to lack for anything.
Correct.
But you know what? I'm still missing something.
Mhm.
And it goes back to that acknowledgement.
Mhm.
As long as I'm able to acknowledge that,
Mhm.
now I can take the accountability. And then with those two A's comes the action.
Correct.
Yeah, I have to be actionary about what I do moving forward,
Mhm.
because okay, I have everything that I need, right? I got
Mhm.
all the resources.
Mhm.
We have these parent help groups.
Mhm.
I can, get some counseling. I can do all of that. But am I actually going to do it?
Right. Right.
You
The
know,
application.
correct,
Mhm.
because our kids really thrive with consistency.
Mhm.
And we have to kind of show them,
Right.
or model that for them,
Mhm.
as far as congruency.
Mhm.
Because if I'm trying to tell my son or daughter, hey, look, let's not do this or let's not do
Right.
that,
Right.
but I'm doing it.
Right. Right. And that, to me, that's that generation where it used to be do as I say,
Not as
not as I
I
do.
do.
Okay.
Yes,
But
yes.
now, no. I do as you do before I do as you say.
Correct.
And that's where we are now. They
Correct.
will do as you do before they do as you say.
Yes, they
you know?
will.
And that's so important for us as adults and parents
Yes.
to understand. Now, with that being said, I wanna talk about, because where are we going, and where are we going for me when we talk about that is, I always often say your present problem is not the source of your present pain. Your present pain is usually rooted in your past.
Yes.
So when we talk about where we're going, I would say we got to first, to some extent, talk about where we were.
Correct.
Okay. What are some of the things in our past that we
Yes.
haven't yet dealt with?
Yes.
And I say that because when we're talking about to the kids and modeling, we have to also model us dealing with our own stuff as adults. And I see a lot of parents, because they haven't dealt with their stuff, like you said, they want to be the friend instead of being the actual parent. Okay. And with that being said, we got to also get the parents to deal with their own stuff and make sure they're differentiating between trying to live through their
children.
There you go. There you go. Or trying to live in such a way that you're trying to relive something that's over.
Yes.
You know, your life is not over.
Yes.
But you can't go backwards.
Correct. Correct. And that's why we are needed. When I say we, in the mental health field, excuse me. It's such a hot button right now, right? And I'm all about taking advantage of that window, and you are correct. Sometimes we do have to revisit, instead of ignoring. And so now I got to find the time to do that. Now I have to come to grips with, oh my goodness, you know what? I've been dealing with this since I was 10 or 11 years old, and it's just kind of perpetuated in my life. And again, if we don't have an opportunity or take advantage of that opportunity to correct that, we're going to see it in our children. What we do in moderation, sometimes our children do in excess.
Come on.
And so you are correct. You are on the right path. And so it's just being able to slow down, all right? Realize that I'm hurting, ing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And now let me go and get some help for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I often say that you have to deal with the three people inside of you. Me, myself, and I. Okay? And the me just wants to be happy. The myself wants to be purpose-driven. And the I want to be connected greater to something greater than oneself.
Yes.
Which is God, in the sense of wanting to make sure that I'm doing what I believe God created me to do.
Yes.
Okay? So how do we help individuals when they're not happy? When they're not living that purpose? When they're not connected in a way that they should, from a spiritual perspective as well? What can we do to help them get on the right track when it comes to where they're headed? What kind of recommendations can we give them?
That lack of direction, right? The lack of guidance, kind of increases the anxiety. And so what we want to do is try to get them to keep it real. Keep it real with themselves. Hey, look, these are my shortcomings. I'm not really where I want to be in life. Okay, let's talk about that.
Right.
And it's okay. That I at this age, I was supposed to have a house, right? I was supposed to be in this career. I was supposed to have, attained this, but I didn't. Okay, that's cool. All right. So let's look at where you are now.
Right.
There are maybe some, smaller things that you have been able to accomplish.
Correct.
And let's take some time to acknowledge that.
Okay.
And so I think for us to keep it real with ourselves, can put the brakes on just for a little bit, and then I'm just thinking about that social media piece, the comparisons and just, if I'm just continually scrolling on my phone, right, and not finding some time to pour into myself, then I'm just on autopilot. I'm just coasting, but subconsciously I'm just beating myself up, because I'm like, oh, look at what they have or look at what they got, and I would never really arrive at who I truly am and what I truly know as far as what I, truly value about myself.
So if we had to leave them with something.
Sure.
Okay. Let's say I have a parent who is really struggling. Okay. And he or she's not getting the support that they need from the other parent, so to speak. Okay. How can they? What kind of conversations would you have with them, and what are some of the past conversations that you've had
Yeah.
in situations like that?
Getting connected.
Okay.
You know, isolation is a devil's playing field.
Good one.
You know, and so we must get connected as far as getting connected with, organizations in our community, or getting connected with, our church. We have to get connected because, when we are isolated, that is just, that playing field for the enemy to just throw those thoughts,
Right.
throw those defeating thoughts, and, and so that's what I would, recommend for them to get connected first. And once they are connected, now we can talk about the other resources,
Correct. Correct.
And so the other resources are there for you. I can't force anybody to do anything,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
But I only give recommendations,
That's it. That's it.
And so, and starting there, I mean, it's really quite simple when you think about it, but we like to, just make it seem like it's so difficult.
Correct.
Because it requires us to slow down.
It does.
It requires us to put that mirror up and really look at ourselves at 30, at 40, at 50 years old. And I'm a true believer in it's never too late.
Correct.
I look at the glass half full, not half empty.
Right.
Every day that we're blessed to see, that's an opportunity for us to get it right. So that's what I would recommend to that parent. Get connected.
Correct.
As far as some wise counsel, some good wisdom. I mean, let's not throw all of that away.
Right.
I remember I'm only 38 years young.
Come on.
But I
was
love
there.
I love to sit around, wisdom.
Right.
Yeah, they just have, so when I say wisdom, that's folks that are a little bit more seasoned than me.
Right.
And
it's that wise counsel.
wise counsel.
Yeah.
I sit up under it and I don't have to say a word. I'm just listening. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Come on.
And so if we can go back to that.
Right.
And it's this one thing that I say, if it's new, then it's not God. And if it's God, it's not new.
Come on.
And so let us go back. It's okay to do that.
Right. We can keep going and
Yes.
going and going. So,
Yes.
so we're going to stop there. And I'm definitely going to have you back. And when I do have you back, I want us to really just focus more on other topics. Just some you do a lot of male empowerment.
Yes.
I want us to kind of go into that.
Yes, sir.
Because again, when we talk about if the father's out of place, well, let's talk about how to keep him in place.
That's right.
Okay. And then I also want to go a little bit more deeper with when we talk about what we're seeing in our school systems.
Yes.
Okay, and where we're headed. So this will not be our last
I hope not.
Matters of the Mind podcast.
Yes,
so I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, sir.
You've been listening to Matters of the Mind, a podcast that focuses on matters that affect the mind. I'm Dr. Rick Adams, licensed psychotherapist and professor of psychology and human behavior. Come, join me on the couch as we discuss matters dealt with, matters dealing with, and the matters that we avoid.